And welcome, and pardon the technical problems. We'll try and straighten those out before too long, but you are watching live coverage from Fortaleza, Brazil's next step on the road to the World Cup. Will it end in a World Cup championship? We'll have to wait to find out. Phil Shane with you along with Andy Hazelton. Very familiar with this stadium when you take a look. That is expected to be packed with Brazilian fans. Felipao, a lot of pressure on him. And a lot of pressure on the man you saw on the screen just a little bit ago, Ronaldo, back in action, wearing the Brazilian uniform for the first time in 2 years.
Hi, I'm Andy, and thank you, Phil, for having me tonight. This is an important game for Brazil. It's the first time the team is really looking like what it'll look like when they get to Korea, and then hopefully, if they get out of their first round, which many Brazilians are worried about, getting into the second and winning the whole thing. Roberto Carlos, Ronaldo. This team believes they can win. They believe they've had a lot of steps and a lot of problems, but they think that they have the tradition, they have the skill, certainly, to win the whole thing. So send it back to Phil. Here's the starting lineups.
Take a look. Marcos in goal for Brazil. Cafu, Lucio, and Anderson Polga, who has been a revelation, helping out as well. Junior, Roberto Carlos, wrapping out the defense. Emerson, Gilberto Silva in the defensive half of the midfield. Ronaldo, Ronaldinho. What a pairing up front with Adilson. That is Felipao's favorite forward. Jevric in goal for Yugoslavia. Mirkovic, Dimitrovic, Jokanovic also in the defense. Krstajic, Lekatic, Djordjevic in the midfield. Mijatovic, Milosevic, Yugoslavia's all-time leading scorer up front, along with the young Kesman and Mihailovic. Dejan Savicevic, very famous for his participation wearing the Yugoslav colors, but he will be on the sideline coaching. Still the interim tag hanging over his head. But this a little bit of history tonight, Andy, and the fact that the very last game that this team will be wearing the Yugoslavian colors. Serbia and Montenegro forming their own state, erasing the history of Yugoslavia, and the very last time, in fact, they even told their equipment manufacturer to stop making jerseys with Yugoslavia on them.
Well, Yugoslavia is an interesting team. They're known as the Brazil of Europe because of their talent, because of their free-flowing play. And they've met with Brazil 18 times. Brazil's had the best of the series. They've won 9, they've lost 2, and they've drawn 7 matches. As you can see in Fortaleza, it's been raining all day. They're worried about the field being wet, but they've been taking good care of this field. The stadium is actually being re-inaugurated. It's been totally refurbished, new field, and Brazilians, especially the Cearenses, as they're known in Fortaleza, are excited about watching this match.
Epifanio Gonzalez, the Paraguayan, will be the man in the middle, blowing the whistle, and he is just about ready to get this game underway. And Brazil, wearing their familiar yellow tops and blue shorts, moving from the right to the left, and wearing the blue and white, defending the goal to the left, Yugoslavia. Again, the starting lineups, a very key performance on the outside, Cafu and Roberto Carlos. This pretty much could be the lineup that Felipao goes with when they take the field in the World Cup in Japan and Korea. There are still a few people left to be decided upon to fill out the roster. Figo Rivaldo will be out there, but a lot of these players that are on the field, this is one of their first true tests to try and get the chemistry going.
Yeah, there's basically 2 issues here. Rivaldo will be on the field in Japan and Korea, so somebody will have to make way for him. And the other big issue today is the fact that they're starting off with a 3-5-2. Brazil traditionally using a 4-4-2 formation, and they're bending towards your more European style of play, possibly with the 3-5-2.
The foul called, whistle blown against Jokanovic, and Brazil gets the restart. Out to Cafu on the right side. Drops it back. One of the heroes of the 6-1 victory against Iceland in Brazil's last international, Anderson Polga, getting the touch down the line, giving chase Roberto Carlos, touching it back to the middle. Djordjevic gets the ball back, and Roberto Carlos putting a lot of pressure on the offensive side.
One of the reasons that Felipao wants to go with the 3-5-2 is because of what we just saw on the field there. Roberto Carlos coming up is allowed much more of an offensive position, as well as Cafu on the right. So you're going to see Roberto Carlos and Cafu up and down those wings, and they have less defensive responsibilities.
This is a relatively big change in the Brazilian style. Normally you're used to the 4-4-2 with the 2 wing backs basically playing more wings than back. which gives a lot more pressure on the defense to one, maybe two of the midfielders. But they're still going with those two somewhat defensive midfielders out there today. And as you mentioned, perhaps a little bit less defense from Roberto Carlos and Cafu, but still, they have been unable to get a lot of offense from the forwards with this more attacking formation, but they have been getting goals from the midfield. So will it be good enough for the World Cup? We'll have to find out, but against Yugoslavia, being put to the test against perhaps its toughest opposition yet. Far side cross, Yugoslavia pushing forward, looking for it, Ilic. Fighting the ball free again, Dimitrovic, and Yugoslavia tracks it down in the midfield. Dribbling forward, Jokanovic pushes it towards the line, trying to track it down. Kesman, the young 20-year-old who scored against Mexico in his debut. Anderson Polga coming away with it. Roque Junior on the near side, and out to Roberto Carlos. Perhaps the question for Brazil with this new 3-5-2 isn't so much can they get the attack going, but can they maintain the defense with really only three center backs and some attack-minded defensive midfielders.
Unfortunately, one of the issues with Brazil is their center defense. It's not their strong point, never really has been.
Offside flag stays down. Ronaldo into the box, and he's denied at the last moment. Jevric comes up with the save, but did the flag come up?
I believe it did, at least.
And the flag, a late one.
Yep, it was a late flag. Ronaldo's offsides. Hopefully we'll see Ronaldo get more into the game, and that's what Brazil needs, somebody to score goals.
Foul called. You could see that they were looking for Ronaldo right away. This one, very close, and if you take a look, that would have been questionable either way and perhaps understandable either way. The left back perhaps keeping Ronaldo onside. Far side, Dimitrovic pushing it forward, gets the ball back. Dangerous cross, and you talk about the center backs. Goalkeeping has not been any great shakes as well. Marcos perhaps the best of a bad lot.
Oh, Marcos, Rogério Ceni, and Dida are all about the same, and right now Marcos, with his background at Palmeiras, having played for Filipão, is getting the nod.
Mijatovic touching it to the near side. Djordjevic getting the ball back on the give and go. Dangerous cross to the middle and touched aside. Good ball there, and it was a very dangerous cross that Brazil perhaps a little bit fortunate to clear.
Pretty back heel there. That's why they're known as the Brazilians of Europe. They have those flourishes that many other European teams just don't seem to have.
Corner kick upcoming. Yugoslavia. This will be an in-swinger towards Marcos' net. Headed clear. Roque Junior getting his noggin to it. Back to the midfield, and Yugoslavia tracks down the loose ball. Swung back to the middle. Mihailovic. Dangerous area. Anderson Polga coming down, and to the outside, here comes Brazil. Gilberto Silva. Not exactly a stay-at-home midfielder, but not the attacker that one of the options for Brazil today would have been. Kleberson, who shone in the game against Iceland, starting this one on the bench. Roberto Carlos, acrobatic trap, tripped off the ball, foul called. Again, some audio problems from Fortaleza. We'll try and correct those as we go along. Phil Shane, Andy Hazelton with you tonight. Brazil coming off of that 6-1 demolishing of Iceland, but perhaps not getting full credit for it.
Well, Iceland didn't have much to play for. Yugoslavia, although they're not going to Japan, does have a lot to play for. It's a fairly young team, and they're looking at qualifying for Europe, the European Championship in 2004, and they want to prove something tonight.
Here could have been a handball in the area, but Brazil perhaps getting away with one. Probably not intentional. Up to the midfield. Mijatovic wearing the captain's armband tonight and wearing a little bit more grass than he started the game with. Roberto Carlos dropping back, intercepting that pass. Pushing it forward. Emerson. Edgilson. Trying to dribble his way single-handedly through.
And Gilson had Ronaldinho Gaúcho on his side there. I think this game really needs to see more of Ronaldinho Gaúcho. He has to show more to Filipão to make sure that he stays on this field.
Take a look at, and it does look as though the arm was moving away, so perhaps Yugoslavia did get a golden opportunity for an early goal, ripped away from them. A lot easier to see when you have instant replay. 8th minute, still no score. Brazil against Yugoslavia. Final game in the history of Yugoslavia. Very first game way back in 1920. Taking on the Czechs in the Olympics. Lost that one 7-0. I'm sure Savicevic hoping that will not be the case in their last game. Hoping for a better closing on the bookend. Ronaldo. A lot of comments. Perhaps a little intrigue as to whether he would start tonight.
Looks like Ronaldinho Gaúcho got a little shove there on the back of his head. Like I said before, Ronaldinho Gaúcho has to show more in this game. He has to prove that he belongs on this team. He was very instrumental in many of the games in the qualifiers, but with his problems with Paris Saint-Germain, his contract issues, at the end he wasn't on this club, and now he's making his return to the club. And one of the reasons Filipão likes him is that he can play both forward and midfield, but he's really got to prove a lot tonight.
Agilson, the number 11, perhaps the most steady caller when it comes to Scolari. And he responds almost every game he's called upon. He manages to find the goal. Tricky little back heel from Roberto Carlos, and here's Ronaldinho. Brings the ball back nicely, but Yugoslavia ready for it.
There's a handball by Yugoslavia.
Mijatovic comes away with it, however. Touched aside at the last moment, and it'll be a throw-in for the Yugos.
Most likely Rivaldo will be playing in Ronaldinho Gaúcho's place right when we get to Japan. But right now, there's still a fight to see who's going to make this team. And if the places where Brazil is really focused is in those midfield and forward spots.
Again, another throw-in. They'll move up about 20 yards, and Djordjevic, the midfielder from Olympiacos, will take it. Was it a foul or no? Yes, the answer. Move up. Milosevic drawing the attention. Got the assist on Kesman's goal against Mexico in Yugoslavia's last international. Then promptly scored 6 minutes later, the game winner. Jokanovic drawing some attention from Ronaldinho. Sloppy pass from Djordjevic, but Yugoslavia holds on. Nice try by Ilic, forcing it forward. Cleared aside, near side by Roque Jr. Roberto Carlos touches. Djordjevic in a battle of sevens. And a little bit of a hack. Emerson to the turf.
That looked like it hurt.
Emerson trying to get someone moving around him. Yugoslavia content to drop back. One of the first touches in play from Ronaldo to Ronaldinho. Ronaldo dribbles through, loses the ball, but won promptly back by Brazil. Roberto Carlos into the area. Emerson pushing forward. Ball knocked back to Anderson Polga. And it's touched aside. Touch to the middle. Gilberto Silva. Swing to the near side. Again, technical problems, trying to fix those as we go along. Still no score, 12th minute. And the fans looking for something to cheer. They do get the opportunity to see the next generation of Ro-Ro. In fact, part of that member is one of the key members of the first generation, still perhaps more in evidence than either of the players on the field. Ronaldinho tries to win it back, does force the poor pass, but a lucky bounce for Yugoslavia. Even though he's not in uniform tonight, Andy, still a lot of attention being focused in on Vasco da Gama's potent striker, Romario.
Well, oftentimes in Brazilian soccer, the fans are looking to see who's not on the team more than they look on the team.
Long ball up front, a little too long. Perhaps a kick of frustration by Milosevic. No doubt about that offside.
Just about a step offside. It's not only Romario that's not on this team that's creating some gray hairs for Felipão. There's some great strikers out there like Jardel, who's scored a tremendous amount of goals in Europe for his club in Portugal. We have França in São Paulo that's scoring at a goal a game clip. So a lot of goal scorers in Brazil that aren't on this team, and a lot of fans want to see them, not only Romario.
Long ball to the outside, headed aside nicely by Dimitrovic. Still in play, and Gilberto Silva tracks it down. However, you talked about França. There's other players like Washington who are...
Washington from Ponte Preta, Dodô from Botafogo. The list is quite long.
But all of those players have gotten their chances. Ronaldo, and you can sense the roar from the crowd. Knocked to the turf. Ronaldinho as Brazil holds on. Ronaldo tries to drop back to get onside. Ronaldinho didn't sense it. And this is one of the problems. They have used a ton of forwards and the chemistry just not there.
Absolutely, but Felipão wants forwards and a team that he feels can get along together, that show teamwork, that can really be a team. What he's trying to avoid is prima donna type players. Romario certainly has that reputation, and he feels that with Ronaldo, with Luizão, with Ronaldinho Gaúcho, these players give him more of what he wants in terms of a team than perhaps some of the brilliance that might be associated with Romario, but these guys can get the job done as well.
Edilson dropping it back. Emerson tries to switch, headed clear. Running over to try and track it down, Mihajlovic. Taken away. Play on. Gilberto Silva striding to the box. Ronaldinho. Ronaldo slices it through. Ronaldinho! Oh! And saved by Djevnic. The opening goal of the match, just inches and shoelaces away. Gilberto Silva. Bending ball. And this is one of the reasons Edilson basically making something from nothing here as he tracks it down and wins the throw-in deep in the Yugoslav end. Might be a touch selfish at times, but Edilson does have the speed. And here, if he's been able to lift it a couple of inches, Brazil's on the board.
Nice individual play by Ronaldinho Gaúcho there for the effort. Edilson's biggest asset to this team is just pure speed. He can go down the left, right wings equally well, and Brazil needs to put him in that situation.
Sasha Ilic from Partizan Belgrade. Not quite expecting that run from Mihajlovic. Roberto Carlos on one of his patented overlaps. Edilson passing it a little bit more than he did in the last game against Iceland. Of course, when you have guys like Ronaldinho and Ronaldo playing next to you, it's a little bit harder to overlook them than perhaps like he overlooked France and Washington in the last match.
Yeah, the last match, the overwhelming criticism of Felipão was that the forwards didn't score in that match. The goals came out of the midfield, and Washington had his chance. He hit the post, I believe it was twice or maybe 3 times, but he didn't get the ball in the net, and that's all that counts. Right now, Ronaldo seems pretty rusty. Let's see if he can get his aim in order.
Charging run, dispossessed. Mihajlovic fighting it free, but it's touched back, and Brazil will maintain. Ronaldo tries to force it through again. This one knocked aside. And another offside against Milosevic. This one a touch harsher. Almost. And perhaps this the part of the game that Ronaldo doesn't get as much credit for. People will just remember the streaming runs down the sidelines and the mazy dribbles in the middle, but a pretty good touch passer, and as he's working his way back into shape, that might be the part of his game that comes back first.
Well, Ronaldo was open right there. If Edilson had been able to get him the ball, that would have been a goal.
Up to the middle, nice move by Ilic. And Brazil just has a little too much speed for Yugoslavia. Mentioned the Euro 2004 qualifying, Yugoslavia preparing for that. Not an easy group, but it is one that Yugoslavia has to expect to advance. Italy has got to be considered one of the favorites in the group. Finland and Wales, perhaps just a hair below Yugoslavia. And then Azerbaijan, the outsiders at this particular point. And Savicevic basically thinking that Italy has got to be the clear favorite, and it's how Yugoslavia does against Finland and Wales that will determine how successful they will be. Throw in near side, Djordjevic, 18th minute, nearing the 20-minute mark, and both teams still feeling each other out, but Brazil a lot more dangerous to this point.
Yeah, Brazil's basically had the run of play so far. Yugoslavia's had a few counterattacks that have looked dangerous. Crowd seems to be still in this game. They want to see Brazil score, obviously.
Djordjevic, slow ball, looking for Ilic, who tries to force it free and does. Mihailovic near side. Milosevic tries to force it into the middle. Clear the side, and here comes Roberto Carlos. Appreciating the artistry as much as the effort. Pushing forward into the attack. Emerson. Ronaldo with the give and go, but the alley was shut down quickly and nicely by Krstajic, the Werder Bremen defender.
Brazil's working a lot in the midfield, trying to get the ball through the middle. I haven't really seen any dangerous wing runs yet. I think Brazil really needs to look to those flanks, especially with Roberto Carlos in the game.
You wonder how much Roberto Carlos and Cafu are used to playing in a 3-5-2. The role's a little bit different, a little bit less space when you get the ball. Ronaldo going for the nutmeg, denied, but the loose ball finds Roberto Carlos. Emerson, back to Roberto Carlos. Real Madrid back, could be on his way after a successful career in Spain. Bending ball towards the spot. Ronaldo fighting for it, cleared away. Roberto Carlos pitching a lot more inside than I remember. Maybe as he has less room and less responsibilities in the back, gives him a chance to try and do a few more things up front.
There was a large call in Brazil to go to this formation, especially since the majority of players play in Europe. Most of the European clubs favor the 3-5-2, but it is new for the guys in yellow basically to play this formation. So it's going to take getting used to. They have another 5 games before they have to go to Korea, and one of the objectives of this game is to really work on this formation and get players in used to their roles.
21st minute. Both teams have had a chance to score. Yugoslavia on a perhaps mistaken non-call as the ball appeared to hit one of the Brazilian defenders in the arm in the box, and then Ronaldinho Gaúcho just inches away from lifting it over Djevric in the Yugoslav goal. And another Brazilian foray denied. Sloppy touch that time in the back by Kesman, and it's dispossessed. Lucio. Roberto Carlos again on the inside to Ronaldo. Roberto Carlos. Ronaldinho all the way back in the midfield. Take a look at the bench for Brazil and what we will see in the second half. A player who would fit very nicely into the role that Ronaldinho is trying to play here in the first half. The Sao Paulo youngster Kaká, brilliant against Iceland. Although, judging by the way that Scolari was talking about playing Ronaldo, we probably won't get the chance to see those two hook up. Ball to the middle. Agilson can't force it forward, so drops it back. Smart play. Cafu with space. Sloppy cross, headed aside. Jokanovic, the only player in the area, but Cafu wins it back. Thanks to the foul, says the referee. Dimitrovic picking himself up off the ground. And a free kick for Yugoslavia.
Well, we talked about the flank play. We talked about Roberto Carlos having to move up the left flank. Well, we need to see Cafu more involved in the right flank as well. That's basically the first time he's made a foray up the wing, and Brazil needs to see more of that.
Ball to the near side. Mirkovic pushing it forward. Ronaldo taking a little breather. A lot of controversy around Ronaldo and his call-up for this game, as the fans not happy that Brazil has not done anything yet on the scoreboard, but this could be the chance. Roque Jr. pushing it into the middle, touched back down the line. Roberto Carlos tries to lift it around the defender, but solid play that time by Mirkovic. The Fenerbahce back wins it nicely, and here comes Yugoslavia.
Seems to me one of the issues might be the rain that's been going on in Fortaleza all day today. The field seems a little heavy.
And the crowd's probably grumpy.
Yeah, maybe. The field seems a little heavy. It looks like the ball's moving a little slower than they want it to.
A little choppy as well. Yugoslavia has not quite found the rhythm yet. Past the midway point of the first half. Brazil adding a game to its schedule, and you'll get the chance to watch it live on pay-per-view. More on that a little bit later. Is the chance for Yugoslavia. Cross to the middle, deflected. Milosevic steps over, a little clumsy in the dribble, as whatever chance Yugoslavia had just went down the drain.
Milosevic should have never been left alone there with three central defenders as well as the two defensive midfielders. That's a mistake that Brazil has to correct.
Djordjevic dropping back on defense as Emerson has it for Brazil. Brazil in the yellow and blue. Yugoslavia in the blue and the white. And Agilson with the ball. Cafu calls. Late cross. Cafu gets there at the end line. Cleared away. Again, Mirkovic, the man on the spot for Yugoslavia, playing a solid right back tonight. Advantage played. Roberto Carlos. Ronaldo open in the middle. Ronaldinho, that is. Lucio dribbles, passes, drops as Cafu trying to round Dimitrovic and can't. Looks like Yugoslavia has handled whatever defensive jitters it had in the early going, but still can't seem to find the midfield.
Neither team really able to establish any rhythm to this match so far.
Single-handedly.
Well, maybe that's what Ronaldo needs to do right now. Just get the ball, dribble through many, and score. One of the controversies with the forwards in Brazil not only is between Romario, it's with Ronaldo being on this field. He hasn't played much lately.
He was supposed to play about 3 days ago for his club team, but Brazil said they wanted him, and that did not make Inter Milan that happy. Sent him over early and just said, hey, if you want him, you got him.
Well, he's on the field now, so he's got a...
Header, second try. Agilson just over the bar. Smart play. Lucio sending it into the middle, and Agilson trying to deflect it.
Agilson trying to deflect and going over over the bar.
Figure the shortest guy on the field would not get the open header, but he did at the 6. People talk about Ronaldo thinking this is his last shot to prove it, and perhaps due to the injuries, if he gets injured again, that might be the case, but he's still only 25. He could have 2 more World Cups in his career if he can stay healthy.
Absolutely, absolutely, and well, if you think of that fact that he hasn't really played in 2 years, he's really only 23, I guess, right?
In horse years. Jevrich, the test keeper, back to midfield. Emerson. What's going through Scolotti's mind right now?
I can't. There's 170 million Brazilians that are probably thinking the same thing. I don't know if I can tell you.
Well, I think those 170 million are thinking that's what's going through their mind is better, but...
Well, in Brazil, there's 170 million coaches, and every one of them thinks they have the secret formula to win a World Cup. Right now, Brazil needs to score a goal. Unfortunately, the fact is that this crowd wants to see Brazil score. They want them to score well.
Ronaldo with the shot. You can just sense the buzz increase in intensity every time the ball comes near number 9. And he's really the only person that's opened himself up single-handedly.
Well, Ronaldo's certainly on the ball a lot, and he's trying to create some chances. One of the reasons this game is played in a city like Fortaleza is they don't get that many national team games. They tend to be a lot more forgiving when the team doesn't play well. But right now, everyone wants to see Brazil play well. They expect a World Cup final. They expect a World Cup championship in 2002.
Touch to the middle. And on the overlap, stolen away, and Ronaldinho pushing forward. Ronaldinho through 2. Ronaldo with space from 35. Slots it through Roberto Carlos! And the outside of the pass or shot just sails over the bar.
I think Roberto Carlos saw the goal on that.
And a beautiful ball again from Ronaldo, and starting to show some connections with Ronaldinho. Nearing the half-hour mark. Roberto Carlos. Long ball up front for Edilson, deflected, and just over the crossbar.
Edilson trying to chase that down. Not able to get control.
And that didn't miss by much. Corner kick for Brazil, near side. Short, Ronaldinho. Leaves Illich in his wake, outside of the boot cross. Deflected away. And a little bit of a push. Lucio whistled.
Got a chance on that last play to see how wet this field is. The field is pretty wet, and I really believe that that's affecting part of the way the ball is moving on this field.
Jevrich taking his time. Bill Shane, Andy Hazelton with you. No score through 30. Another hour left to go. The captain, Mijatovic, to the outside. A little bit too tight from Cafu. As Krstajic draws the foul. Mentioned earlier, Brazil adding another friendly against a select squad from the Barcelona area in Catalonia. That game will be available on pay-per-view. We'll tell you more about that at halftime, as well as give you a little bit of an update on as the cross comes in off the free kick and drifts harmlessly wide on some of the other action today internationally. Some surprises, to say the least. Roque Jr. to the middle. Gilberto Silva swings it to Cafu on the far side. Cafu.
Here's Edilson coming down the right wing. See some speed.
Edilson, cross, deflected, away from Ronaldo. Roberto Carlos shot, and it almost found Ronaldo by luck.
Yeah, I don't think Roberto Carlos was thinking about passing that ball to Ronaldo at that point.
Maybe he should have been.
that ball had come in lightly, I think Ronaldo would have been able to do a lot more with it, obviously.
If Ronaldo scores, does the Romario situation go to the back burner for Scolari?
I don't think the issue is so much Ronaldo as versus Romario. It's Romario being on this team at all. A lot of people believe he's the best goal scorer in Brazil. He belongs on the field.
Ronaldo, was it a deflection and offside, or? The answer is no. The ball coming back off the defense, and Ronaldo with a gift that was rejected by Jevric. And another corner kick for Brazil. Linesman ruling the ball came in off the boot of Gersovic, and a chance on the near side for Brazil. Over everyone and bounds out of play, and Yugoslavia a chance to get their wits about them. Just yesterday, and again perhaps playing a few games with the press, Scolari saying he wasn't sure that Ronaldo would play at all today. And then earlier today saying he wasn't sure if he would play Ronaldo and Ronaldinho at the same time. But when you take a look at the starting lineup today, that's where both of them were, and they have teamed up a couple of times for some near chances. Mihajlovic pushing forward. Mijatovic getting fouled there.
I think so far Ronaldo's doing his job. He's doing what Felipão wants him to do. I think Edilson really needs to step up and work better with Ronaldo.
Edilson trying to catch up to that ball, but Krstiajic got there first. Long upfield, and Yugoslavia looks like they're just content to get the ball out of their own zone. Savicevic probably isn't so content on the near side, the interim coach for Yugoslavia. Trying a few new faces in the second half. Every time Ronaldo goes down, you can just sense a collective country's breath being grabbed.
I think the Inter Milan people also are worried about him every time he goes down.
Probably don't want to limit ourselves to a hemisphere.
The Inter Milan president being very vocal about not wanting Ronaldo to start his play again wearing a yellow jersey. He wanted him wearing a striped blue and black jersey first before he came and played here.
In fact, Hector Cooper, the coach for Inter, electing not to dress Ronaldo for a 3-1 win against Roma. Turned out they didn't need him. But that was supposed to be his return. Throw in deep for Yugoslavia. Djordjevic. Got to do better than that. Handball against Ilic. And Brazil will get it in some time. 36th minute, still no score.
One of the criticisms that came into play with the Iceland game was that that Iceland really didn't have much to play for, and they weren't used to playing in the heat.
Also, that was basically Iceland's B team. They didn't have enough time to get their A squad together.
Well, Yugoslavia is also in a situation where, well, they're a good side, and they have stuff to play for in the future, but they don't have this necessity, immediate necessity, like Brazil has to get their game together.
Ilic to Milosevic. Crossing for Keshman, a little awkward on the pass. Deflects, and Dimitrovic holds on for Yugoslavia.
I happen to know Fortaleza well. It's a beautiful city, beautiful beaches that go on for miles. And well, maybe the Yugoslavians are thinking about going to the beach tomorrow and trying to get this game win, because they don't seem to have any real sense of urgency here.
Well, whatever they did have in the first 20 minutes is just melted away in the rain on the pitch here in Fortaleza. But then again, a fortunate hop sometimes is all it takes. Good defense by Brazil. Out to Ronaldinho. Emerson a little slow picking himself up. Gilberto Silva and Roberto Carlos playing a little give and go. Back to Roberto Carlos. Ronaldinho. even if they are playing with two forwards, and Ronaldo and Ronaldinho getting that name at least, you can see almost a circuitous route that the attackers play for Brazil, coming back, pushing forward. Hard to tell where the attack's going to come from. Cafu in the corner. Almost had a corner, but draws the throw. Lucio. Someone wasn't on the same page. Off the back of Roberto Carlos and out. 38th minute.
One of the reasons Edilson was chosen to pair with Ronaldo was because they figured that Ronaldo would have a little bit of rust, but that Edilson would be able to make up for it and do a lot of runs off and work well with Ronaldo. We haven't seen that yet.
Part of the problem is Edilson tends to start his runs from outside. Ronaldo's quick flicks don't matter that much when it has to go around 30 or 40 yards to get there.
Emerson trying a shot out from just about the center stripe there.
A couple of shots against Iceland went in that way.
Well, there we hear him. It didn't take too long. It took 38 minutes for the Fortaleza crowd to start yelling for Romario.
One of the leading scorers in the Brazilian Rio-Sao Paulo championship going on right now. He's getting, put it this way, you can understand if the fans are screaming for Romario. You can understand if Romario is screaming for Romario, but when all of a sudden you get the president of the federation, the president of the country,
king
and the king of soccer himself and Pelé all going Romario, you kind of have a feeling that maybe you're not on the same page as everyone else. Maybe you got to rethink things, but Scolari is sticking by his guns as Ronaldo has it now. Slicing ball. Ronaldinho's run didn't quite meet up with it.
I couldn't quite make out the last chant that the crowd was going, but I have a feeling it wasn't particularly complimentary towards Coach Felipão there.
Scolari, Big Phil, one of the architects of one of the greater, but maybe not most graceful teams in recent history in Brazil, in Palmeiras, a team built on defense and opportunistic strikes.
Absolutely. Palmeiras was tremendously successful with Felipão. Cruzeiro was tremendously successful with Felipão, but with teams built a lot on defense, on being very tough, very work-oriented teams.
This could be a chance here. Long ball from Mijatovic. Was it a foul or not against Marcos? And they say no. And I think they might have been wrong. Just enough to trip up Mijatovic, and a fortunate no call for Brazil again. Second one today. Otherwise, could have been 2 penalties for Yugoslavia. That one does not escape the eye of the referee. And perhaps a little bit of controversy when this one's all over. Mentioned that Epifanio Gonzalez, the Paraguayan, is the man in the middle, but running down the lines on the near side, the one not calling the fouls against Brazil in the box is Nilton Ottaviano, and the one calling the fouls against Yugoslavia on the far side, Jose Ribamar Melonio. And a couple of Brazilian linesmen perhaps will have an impact before this one is over. Roberto Carlos to the middle. Emerson to the outside. Lucio, the Bayer Leverkusen back, looking for some help. Gilberto Silva, Anderson Polga, and perhaps the second favorite pastime in Brazil. Professional whistlers, the lot. Roberto Carlos to Ronaldinho.
We even have Rocky Jr. going down the left wing now. Ball comes back to the middle.
Cafu. Edilson matched up one-on-one against Krstajic. Not the best passer in the world. Milosevic. A little frustration starting to show on the big man. The Saragossa striker scored a goal, set up another against Mexico, but finding it a little tougher going against Brazil. About what they'd expect, Savicevic and several members of the Yugoslav squad saying that, as you take a look at Denilson on the sideline, maybe he might have a little bit more luck. Was that a foul, and if so, against two? And is it obstruction or a real foul against Roque Junior? And is that even a yellow?
I believe that
They're
was
calling
Roque
it
Junior.
And they do show the yellow card.
Yeah.
Could have been obstruction, but then he just leaned in at the last moment. Take a close look, and a free kick for Yugoslavia. Brazil gets credit for some of the greatest free kick takers in the world. Yugoslavia has a few of them. Probably not up to the caliber of Roberto Carlos, but this is a dangerous opportunity for the boys in blue.
There's a very famous Yugoslav in Brazil right now that's not playing in this game. That's an excellent free kick taker. Pekovic plays for Flamengo.
Wonder if there was any thought of Savicevic for calling him up just for the heck of it. Nothing to lose. Here's the free kick. Mihailovic can't put it on the frame.
That thought actually crossed my mind as well, especially when Flamengo, being one of the top club sides in Brazil, is also one of the favorite clubs in Fortaleza. Of course, the Brazilians don't exactly want to bring in Pekovic to play for the Yugoslavians. They're probably glad he didn't go.
Not much time left in the first half. Probably a couple minutes to be added on. Gilberto Silva, Emerson. Both of those players taking a turn, rolling up into the attack. And here now they both come with space. Ronaldo dropping it back. You figure one of these times tonight, instead of dropping it back, he's going to run through. And here's the chance. Ronaldinho, Edilson, goal! Edilson beating the offside trap, and Brazil has the lead.
I think it was called back, Phil.
Oh, man. A beautiful ball from Ronaldinho. And take a look at Edilson, offside by half a step.
Offside koji sudija nije mahao.
You can hear the public address announcer, and the opportunistic thing here, though, is if Edilson had not run through, there were two guys in yellow shirts that would have been onside if the referee would have played on. Instead, we're still scoreless, or did they count it? Take a close look, and actually, defender on the near side looks like he might have been on. Ronaldo, a smile on his face. The first half winding to a close. Brazil and Yugoslavia. A very solid performance from Brazil in the first half. A touch of flash as well. And perhaps reason to smile for Scolari at the break.
I hate to disagree with you, Phil, but I think there's a lot of people that are mad at Filipon right now, and I don't think...
but again, not so much what the fans are thinking,
right.
But
no,
is
fair
this
enough,
the way you would expect? You got to feel happy the way that they closed the first half, at least if you are Scolari.
We'll take a look at the bright points. I think Ronaldo has shown that you know, he can still play, that he's out there, he's winning balls, and he's creating chances. A number of other players have shown some nice flashes. I think Roberto Carlos played fairly well in the first half. Ronaldinho Gaúcho had a few moments. Defense was well, we'll call him steady if not spectacular. Interesting enough is the defense that the trio of Lucio, Roque Jr. and Edilson, actually I'm sorry, not Edilson, Anderson Polga, that will be probably the three that will be starters in Japan and Korea.
Then when you take a look at Yugoslavia, a team that had a couple of chances, maybe an unfortunate break or two, not getting the calls from the officials, but didn't really appear to be in this game mentally for the most part. Defensively, yes, but on the midfield forward, a little sporadic.
Absolutely, they had a few nice moments, and then from there, they just basically came back into the defense and took what Brazil gave them. And so far, with the 0-0 tie, they've done well.
Break in the first half. Brazil adding another friendly as they will take on Catalonia, the select squad from the eastern region of Spain near Barcelona. And that will be a very interesting matchup, taking on a squad that has perhaps just as much flair and perhaps a little bit more bite than this Yugoslav squad right now. Kickoff time to be announced, but again live on pay-per-view, so check your local listings for details. But Saturday, May 18th, also a game against Malaysia added to the schedule earlier today.
Yeah, that game will be played on May 25th. This Catalonia game, another interesting game. We've talked a lot about controversy. We've talked about the controversy with the forwards. We've talked about the controversy with Ronaldo, Romario, Felipão. Well, even this game is in some ways controversial. Rivaldo came out when it was announced saying that he didn't think that the Brazilian national side should play a select side like Catalonia. It's even political issue in Spain. So it seems like the Brazilians are thriving on controversy or not thriving on controversy, but they're certainly getting it. They're not shying away from it, certainly.
Take a look at the way things go in the World Cup, and of course what happened today, one of the busier international friendly days. And for all of you who plan on watching the U.S.-Germany game and have, I guess, actively gone about not finding out what the score is, we will not disappoint you. We will give you enough warning to mention that for those who don't particularly care and just want to find out what happened. But first, England taking on Italy, and a little bit of a controversial game in the way things ended. Robbie Fowler scoring for England, Montella scoring in the 67th for Italy, appearing to go under the books as a 1-1 tie. But then a penalty in the 90th minute, and Montella steps to the spot and scores again, so Italy knocking off England 2-1.
That game being played in England, a lot of English were very excited about that game. That was the game they really, at the Ellen Road Stadium in England. Well, tomorrow morning I'm sure there'll be plenty of news in the English tabloids about that game.
The one good thing for Eriksson and company is the fact that they're not Scotland today, as France just demolished the Scots 5-0. Bertie Vogts, his first game coaching the Scots, and Zinedine Zidane did not take it easy. Other games earlier today, well, Argentina knocking off Cameroon, it appeared, but then ends up an 86th minute goal, wipes out the lead in a 2-2 tie. Goals from Verón from the spot, and Pablo Aimar getting a chance to play today. And again, a rematch of the 1990 World Cup game, and somewhat similar result in the fact that it's a disappointment for Argentina, arguably the best team in the world, but not playing like it today.
I think the French showed that they want to be considered the best team in the world with their showing today. 5-0 is great score for anyone. You can argue the Scots don't have much to play for, but certainly they have the tradition and the pride to do a much better job than that. I'm sure they're disappointed.
Croatia and Slovenia playing to a scoreless draw. Russia knocked off by Estonia. Mentioned the fact that this was a day of upsets. 2-1 Estonia beating the Russians. And this is the second straight loss for the Russians, losing 2-0 to Ireland earlier, and pressure perhaps building on Romancev. Ireland coming on with their second straight solid performance, a 3-0 win over Denmark today. Robbie Keane, there was some pressure on him. Some word that he might not be long for the Ireland team unless he, I guess, picks up the pace and the intensity a little bit. But he scores today along with Ian Hart and Clinton Morrison. So a strong performance from Ireland. As well, Holland knocking off Spain, another one of the World Cup hopefuls, if not favorites. Spain going down to defeat against a team that did not even qualify in Holland by a score of 1-0. De Boer scoring in the 32nd minute. Japan, one of the bigger upsets. A lot of people expect Japan to play well, be a tough foe as they host the World Cup along with Korea, but knocking off Poland today, 2-0. Goals from Nakata and Takahata. And take a look also, Portugal-Finland. That might be even a bigger upset just by the size of the demolition from Finland, 4-1.
Yeah, let's talk about both of those games. Both of those games being having implications with the World Cup. Japanese being host, and the Polish being in the same group with the United States. The United States is going to be playing against Poland, I believe, in their first matchup. Or is it Portugal?
Portugal first.
Portugal's first.
South
That's
Korea
right.
second, and Poland third.
Poland's the third matchup, correct. So, well, United States will probably be looking at that game as a must-win. And the fact that their coach, the Polish coach, said today that they had played their worst game in 2 years does not bode well for their World Cup aspirations. Japan, on the other hand, wants to do well at home. No home club, as a home nation, has never not advanced into the second round in World Cup action. So Japanese seem to be getting their act together at the right time.
Elsewhere, Liechtenstein holding Northern Ireland to a scoreless draw. That a little bit of an upset. Romania, no upset here, but nice to see them back on top, knocking off the Ukraine today by a score of 4-1. Sweden and Switzerland, 1-1 draw there. Tunisia tying Norway 0-0. Austria 2-0 over Slovakia. Paraguay, a 1-1 draw against Nigeria. Goals from Gamara and JJ Okocha. And then Turkey tying South Korea 0-0. So
that game be having implications for Brazil with Turkey. Turkey will be playing Brazil in the first round matchups, and South Korea having implications with the U.S.
And speaking of the U.S., if you can turn down your volume for about 20 seconds, we'll give you what happened there. But again, South Korea tying, Portugal losing, Poland losing. I'll give you a hint, no one from the U.S.'s group won today, as Germany knocking off the U.S. by a score of 4-2. Clint Mathis got it started on a good note with a goal in the 17th minute. Ziga ties it just before halftime. 3 straight goals from Germany in the second half. Mathis scores his second in the 70th. 4-2, the final. I figure that was about 20 seconds, don't you?
Yeah.
So regardless, what perhaps other than that England or the U.S.-Germany game, what do you think might be one of the bigger surprises on this day, or what was the biggest?
Well, I think Italy and England is always a fairly close matchup. No real surprise there. Holland, despite not having gone to the World Cup, having not advanced, them beating Spain 1-0 is not exactly a surprise for anyone there. I think Cameroon-Argentina would probably be the game that most people would look at. I think Argentina has been a machine now for 2 years. They haven't really hiccuped at all. They had, I believe, 1 tie against Bolivia in qualifications. Of course, they lost to Brazil in 1 match, and if I'm not mistaken, they had 1 tie against Uruguay, and that was it. The rest were solid wins. Argentina beat Italy in Italy in an international friendly played approximately a year ago as well. Argentina just hasn't had any opposition. And for them to go to, I believe that game was played in neutral site. It was played in Geneva today. And I think Argentina had basically everything there to win the game. But the Africans, Cameroon, Nigeria, they always play tough. And I think they showed that they're something that they're going to be nations that are going to have to be respected during this next World Cup.
2 other friendlies just to get you back on to date. Saudi Arabia knocking off Uruguay by a score of 3-2, and Senegal, who will be on the spot on the very opening day of the World Cup, beating Bolivia 2-1.
Another African club there. So I think the African clubs showed themselves well today.
Take a look at the World Cup groupings, and perhaps the toughest, without a doubt, is the one that pits Argentina, England, Nigeria, and Sweden. Really, Nigeria has got to be considered the dog in that group to finish fourth, but you put them in almost any other group, and there's a good chance they could finish second and advance to the next round. That just goes to show how difficult Sweden, Nigeria have it to be grouped with two of the teams that have to be considered favorites to advance to the final 8.
Argentina's won 2 World Cups. England has won 1 World Cup. Nigeria has won an Olympic championship. Sweden has been to 2 World Cup finals. I'm sorry, 1 World Cup final. They've also hosted a World Cup. They've made it to the quarterfinals in US 94. All of these teams have tradition. All of these teams have pedigree. All of these teams have stars. That is without question, the group of death is a very applicable term to that group.
Take a look at some of the other groups. Mexico, Italy, Ecuador, and Croatia. Not going to be any easy games in that one. And you wonder about Ecuador. First-time team, many clubs might overlook them. Italy is a type of team that's not going to blow too many teams out. They'll be satisfied with a 1-0 or a 2-1 win, which means that goal differential might come into play a little bit more. Even if you lose to Italy 1-0, that might be good enough to get you to the second round.
That group reminds me of the Italy group in 1994, which I believe was Italy, Mexico. I'm sorry, I can't remember the clubs, but it was basically every game was a 1-0 win. And at the end, I believe all the clubs had 3 or 4 points, and that's how close that group was. I think we'll see something very close to that.
Take a look at some of the easier groups, and Brazil has got to be considered somewhat easy. China, Costa Rica, and Turkey fighting it out for the second spot, and really it's hard to pick a team that has to be the favorite among those 3.
Well, China has an advantage with their coach. Usually at this level of play, you don't try to say the coach is, you try to put the focus on the players, not on the coach. But Bora Milutinovic, having coached the U.S. to the second round, having coached Costa Rica to the second round, having coached Mexico to the second round, he's been there. He's done 5 World Cups as a head coach, and I think he'll have the Chinese. Yeah. Every time he's coached a club in the World Cup, and it's been 5 consecutive World Cups, he's taken them to the second round. My personal guess is you're going to see Brazil and China advance out of that group. Turkey, without question, and Costa Rica are both dark horses. Both of them have some good players, some players with experience, but my guess is it's going to be Brazil and China.
And then for the World Cup defending champions, the last defending champions to get the automatic berth, opening up against Senegal, who won today. Uruguay, never a tough opponent, never an easy opponent. And then Denmark, a former European champion, ironically, they got that opportunity when Yugoslavia was knocked out of the European Championship during the beginnings of their wars. But Denmark, a tough defensive team. Senegal, who knows what to expect. And Uruguay. France is going to have a few surprises, maybe more bumps than some might expect, but the way they demolished Scotland today, they might have to be considered one of the favorites to make it to the semifinals.
France? France, I think, is a favorite to make it to the final. They're just again, like I spoke about Argentina, they've just been a machine. Nothing's really been able to get in their way. In that group, the fight is for second place. Uruguay and Denmark both have World Cup history, with Uruguay being a 2-time champion. Denmark having, I believe they've achieved quarterfinal status a number of times. In fact, one of the more infamous games of World Cup history was Uruguay and Denmark, in which Denmark totally slaughtered Uruguay. If I'm not mistaken, it was 6 or 7-1. Game which Uruguay had 2 or 3 red cards. If I'm not mistaken, it was the '82 World Cup in Spain. Although don't quote me on that, please. And so my guess is it'll be one of those 2 teams coming out of second place. Senegal being the first World Cup. No real tradition there. I think they'll be happy to be there. I think they may hold a few games tight, but in the end, it's going to be a fight for second place between Uruguay and Denmark. France easily wins that group.
And as Brazil gets ready to step out onto the field for the second half, wrapping it up, take a look at Spain's group, Group B, Slovenia, Paraguay, and South Africa. South Africa in a little bit of turmoil of late. Not the strong team that you might have expected over the last 8 years. Slovenia, similar story. They just got demolished by Honduras recently in the Hong Kong Cup and the Carlsberg Cup in Hong Kong. And Paraguay, they'll be taking out their team the first 2 games without their spiritual leader, in Chilavert, who's suspended. So
Chilavert was suspended, ironically enough, against because of an action that he did against the same Brazil side in World Cup qualifying.
Roberto Carlos.
Against Roberto Carlos. The action was a fairly horrendous spit. And
he was just
Roberto
doing his
Carlos,
Frank Rijkaard impression.
Yeah, Roberto Carlos kind of egged him on as well, so Chilavert is suffering because of that. We also have in this group we have Slovenia, which was eliminated. Which eliminated the same Yugoslavia club that we're watching. In the end, they had an extra point. It looks like Luizão is in the game. Not sure who he came in for yet.
Wrapping up the World Cup groups, the United States group with Korea, Poland, and Portugal. Some people saying that the U.S. could finish as low as 4th. Reports and critiques out of Europe this week saying they could finish 2nd in advance, right behind Portugal.
Clint Mathis thinks they can win it all, and he's been showing the club that he has the skills to score goals. Portugal had a horrible result today. Portugal has had good results before. Portugal and Spain, both Iberian nations, have done well in World Cup qualifying. They've gone to many World Cups, and then at the end, they fizzle out. Going to our game here in Brazil, it looks like Luizão is definitely on the field, and Denilson is also on the field.
Denilson coming in. Figure he might be in for Gilson's still out there. He played the last 90 against. He played the full 90 against Iceland, and he does have the legs, and he is in mid-season form. Ronaldo and Ronaldinho both nursing a few nicks and bruises.
We're looking at Luizão there. Luizão has been a little bit controversial in and of himself. He was playing for Corinthians in São Paulo and had some contract controversy, and basically said he wasn't going to play for Corinthians anymore. Sued for the right to regain his pass, and is signed with Grêmio from Porto Alegre in the south of Brazil. And he hasn't played an official league match in 6 weeks. And one of the controversies was with Filipão was to select him and put him in this game today. Denilson is also on the field. He should hopefully give some more gas to the team on the left wing. His touches are just fantastic. He's a World Cup veteran, having played in '98, having been a starter. Went through a bad time with Real Betis in Spain, which is his club side, but now he's regained his game, and he's back, and he's hoping to prove that he belongs on this team. There we see Denilson and Roberto Carlos talking to Yugoslav players. Looks like they're getting ready to start. If I'm not mistaken, Roberto Carlos and who are we looking at there?
Mijatovic?
Yeah. They played together, or they still play together? I can't remember now.
No, Mijatovic now at Fiorentina.
Right. I believe he used to play at Real Madrid up to last year until he went to Fiorentina.
And trying to figure out who Denilson may have come in for.
Marcos is a born-again Christian. He's what they call an athlete for Christ. He's doing his traditional prayer before the second half.
Doesn't appear to be any changes for the Yugoslav side. Don't see Ilic out there. Keep our eyes out for him.
Seems like we're still having some technical difficulties here with crowd noise. Hopefully we'll be able to get that back on track.
Phil Shane, Andy Hazelton with you. Brazil and Yugoslavia, a scoreless first half. Appeared as though there was a goal just prior to the halftime whistle, but Gilson ruled to be offside. A very close call at that, but Yugoslavia, a second gasp at life. Did not appear to have too many chances of their own in the first half. Here a little bit of a push, and the foul against the Yugoslav captain, Predrag Mijatovic. Roque Junior sliding to the middle. Trying to turn. Denilson. Dispossessed nicely by Djordjevic. Pushing it forward. Milosevic. and Yugoslavia content to hold on to possession.
Trying to figure out who Danielson came in for. Luizão definitely came in for Ronaldo.
All I can think of is maybe Emerson or Gilberto Silva.
I believe Emerson was on the field. I believe you're probably right with Gilberto Silva. We'll try to figure that one out for you.
Ronaldinho's still out there. Edilson trying to touch it back. Yugoslavia coming away with it. Offside the call. Or was it? Good point by Kesman.
I think he believed he was on his own side of the field before he started that run.
But they called the offside on Milosevic first, and as you can see, he took that first step forward, playing the ball. If he would have just kept on his merry way, the flag might have stayed down. Roberto Carlos pushing up the far side. Danielson getting the ball back. Favors the left almost exclusively. And has an opening here. Back to the middle. Danielson. You could just see the eyes got a little bit bigger than his feet.
He saw that goal, and I think he saw that corner, and that's all he wanted to see. I'm surprised the Yugoslavians even let him turn to his left. It's no real secret that he favors the left side.
One of the reasons it's taken him so long to hook on in Europe. Finally getting a chance to play some at Real Betis.
At the time, Danielson was the most expensive transfer in European history, $63 million. Now we have confirmation for Luizão for Ronaldo.
And it looks as though Gilberto Silva might still be out there. So, keeping our eyes on who Danielson came in for.
And there's Danielson there. He's on the wing that he likes. He's getting plenty of room.
Deflected. Ronaldinho appealing for the foul when no one followed up. Looks like it's Emerson that stepped out of the game. Lucio getting the benefit of the doubt, or did he? Yes, he did. Dimitrovic appealing for the foul, but not getting it. Looks like Silva still might be out there. And so is Emerson. I'm wondering if they took out Anderson Polga and are trying Roque Jr. in the middle. That's got to be a foul, and that might even be a red, but at least a yellow as Ronaldinho Gaúcho tripped up. Smart play by Mirkovic. He knew there was no way he was going to catch up, but a cynical one at that.
Kind of foul that FIFA's trying to get rid of. They're in their referee meetings, orientating the referees for the next World Cup, and those are the kind of fouls they're trying to do away with. I didn't see if there was a yellow card assigned there.
It looked like there was one in the referee's hand as Gonzalez was pointing to the spot where he wanted the kick to be taken, but a yellow, not a red, and a little bit of good fortune by Mirkovic as he made no effort to disguise it. Ronaldinho Gaúcho. Remember his free kick goal for Paris Saint-Germain just less than a month ago.
Looks like Roberto Carlos is going to take this one.
Through. What a save! Jevric couldn't have even seen that ball until it made its way through the wall. A lightning bolt. Well, at least one of the Yugoslavian players definitely came up to play today. Jevric has had to make a few saves tonight, but none as spectacular as that.
That was a trademark shot by Roberto Carlos. Low, hard, and very difficult to save.
Let's see if his heartbeat has come back to normal as Ronaldinho getting set to send this corner kick into the area. Back post. Danielson kept it alive. Roberto Carlos. Luizão gets his first touch and heads it down. This could be a break. Kesman, the PSV Eindhoven midfielder, pushing it forward to Sasha Ilic. I think somewhere in that run, Ilic forgot what sport he was playing. Ronaldinho Collides with Keshman. No call. Collides with Jokanovic. There is a call, and another yellow card against the Yugoslavs. Again, the final game for Yugoslavia under the Yugoslavian flag. Serbia and Montenegro joining forces in country and in sport after this one. Long ball as Brazil content to regroup in their own end. Surprised at all that Marcos still out there and Rogério Ceni still on the bench. Rogério Ceni was supposed to get the start against Iceland, but became ill at perhaps the worst possible time.
Could very well be. Yeah, we talked a lot about controversy. Well, controversy in terms of the goalkeepers really isn't that much of an issue. Both Rogério and Marcos are known to be the best two keepers in Brazil. And Marcos has been favored by Filipão almost exclusively. So no surprise there. The big issue with goalkeepers, who's going to be the third goalkeeper? A number of young goalkeepers in Brazil right now are trying to make their name known to Filipão.
Mijatovic pushing it forward into the box, and a little problem for the Brazilian defense.
Yeah, one of the keepers would be Julio Cesar from Flamengo. Another keeper would be Elton from Vasco, both under 24 years old. And then, of course, Gida is a known quantity in Brazil.
Through ball into the area, Luisao. Causing problems for Mirkovic. Drops it back to Nielsen, going to his left. This time they expected it, but they fouled him nonetheless. Very quick on the restart, but Nielsen just doesn't seem to be as quick as he was a year or two ago.
He needs a little room to run. Like Edilson, they need to get the ball with the, on the move, and they're both getting the ball standing still. That's not going to help them.
Predrag Mijatovic, the Fiorentina midfielder, wearing the captain's armband, coming out. Partizan Belgrade midfielder Igor Duljac coming in.
I predict that Ronaldinho Gaúcho is going to see this ball. This is the range he likes it, just a little over 20 yards out. Roberto Carlos likes him a little farther out. So, well, let's see what happens. Ronaldinho Gaúcho has a tremendous free kick. Very easy to put this in the top of the net.
Gonzalez will let Yugoslavia make the switch. More time ticking off the clock.
Crowd a little impatient
55th minute.
A little impatient for them to go. They want to see this free kick go into the top corner, in the gaveta, as we say in Portuguese.
Roberto Carlos faking. Ronaldinho takes it into the top of the wall, bounds out. Cafu heading it to the near side. Cafu back on the overlap. Good stop, good cross. Ronaldinho slamming into the defense, top of the box, getting the chance. Turn, shot, and knocking it aside, Jevric. He was diving towards the open side of the net on the surprising opening and had to deflect it out, almost going against the grain.
Jevric saving his team again there. Well, I think Ronaldinho Gaúcho would have liked to have that back. I think he thinks he could have done better with that.
Two chances wide open around the 6. And Ronaldinho Gaúcho could put neither of them on the net. A swing and a miss. On the break, Ilic trying to draw the foul. He didn't have much help. And in his desire to hold on to possession, he held on to Gilberto Silva just a little too much. Ilic has not had a good game so far tonight.
Brazilian players warming up. I think we'll see Juninho Paulista in the game today, without doubt, especially if this game doesn't start moving more in the midfield.
Well, there's a lot of options right now when you consider Djalminha, although it's Nielsen coming in. They both play a similar role, so that was probably going to be one or the other. As Nielsen trying to get something going, slices it through. Luisao to his left, and a sloppy cross to himself as he tries to cut back. Eliminated the only opening he had. Perhaps a first-time shot, perhaps a softer touch, but a beautiful pass from Janilson, wasted. He even had time to stop and bend it back.
He did well to stay onside there. He had all the room in the world. There's no excuse for missing that goal.
Still scoreless, 67th minute. Corner kick, headed back out. Ronaldinho has it. Blocked by the substitute, Juljic. Gets it in, deflected out. Ilic, again.
Not to add to the controversy, but on that last attempt by Luizão, I'm sure that everyone in Brazil is thinking that Romário would have put that in the back of the net.
And he put one in very similarly this past week for Vasco.
That's exactly what Romário, he has ice in his veins. He takes those balls and he just finishes them every time. Of course, the big complaint is that's all he does. We'll see if he makes it onto this side.
Take a look at Savicevic. Near side. Mirkovic back on defense, but Edgilson gets it through. Luisao in the box, drops it back. Good tackle, good try by Janilson, but he was dispossessed just enough by Djordjevic. Long shot and smothering Djordjevic. Roberto Carlos again, a laser beam from about 40. And if Djordjevic had not smothered the ball, two Brazilian jerseys right in front of him, and that dangerous short hop almost resulting in a goal for Brazil. 58th minute, nearing the hour mark. Deflected, almost passing to himself on the far side. Ilic, near side, Kesman slices it through, deflected away, a little too fancy from the hard man.
It looks like Jugoslavia at least is trying to create something in the midfield now. They're going after the game a little more.
Kesman, play on, says the referee. Gets it back. Soft, smart touch to the near side. Dimitrovic gets past one, slots it to the middle. Ilic, hard touch, gets the shot. And Marcos handles the easy shot, which in some ways is a good mark on his resume. He's been known to let a few easy ones go in after making a spectacular save or two. Although really, that's the first test that Marcos has had all night.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the Brazilian defense has done anything spectacular today, but they certainly had. Yugoslavia, except for really one good effort in the first half, hasn't been able to penetrate the core trio of the Brazilian defense.
Edgilson, Gilberto Silva, Emerson, Janilson, a little too much time on the ball.
Fortunately, this game is becoming what often happens when teams play Brazil. They start out okay, they go out after the attack, and then Brazil just controls the midfield, and they don't give Brazil any room to move. The game becomes kind of held up in the midfield as it is right now.
Edgilson drawing the foul. Free kick. Felipao bringing in Janilson, dropping Roberto Carlos back to his more traditional left back spot, pulling out Anderson Polga and sticking Roque Jr. in the middle. Yugoslavia has not been able to take advantage of, really considering Roberto Carlos more of an attacker, Brazil only playing with two defenders at the moment.
Yeah, I would say that, and even the defenders have been coming up and contributing to the attack.
Anything to read in the fact that Anderson Polga was substituted? Or is this more of a test to see how Roque Jr. does in the middle by himself?
I think a little bit of both. I think right now they're just looking at, Felipão is really looking at what's in front of the defense.
You could see the swarm of yellow jerseys in the stands in Fortaleza. And almost every single one of them had their arms crossed, just like Felipão on the bench.
Well, we're actually past the 60-minute mark. We haven't seen a goal, and it's been raining this whole game.
Ronaldinho tries to do it single-handedly. Kesman. Nice soft touch in the middle by Jukanovic. To the near side. Dimitrovic. No Predrag Mijatovic, the only substitute that Yugoslavia has made so far. Late whistle. Milosevic called for offside.
I don't think there's any controversy there.
No. Second substitute. Jokanovic coming out. Lazetic coming in from Fenerbahce. Ronaldinho and Janilson, and a hard tackle in the back. One last bit of defense from Jokanovic. Nice through ball. Roberto Carlos trying to cut it to himself, pleading for obstruction, and he will get the whistle.
That's what Filippo, I'm sure, wants to see. He wants to see those runs up the flanks. He hasn't seen many of them. Roberto Carlos and Cafu have been basically quiet. And Denilson has come in, really hasn't done it either.
Well, the outside backs were able to get down the flanks against Iceland. Is that perhaps, considering the fact that Cafu and Roberto Carlos, the expected starters, more to say about the Yugoslav defense?
Oh, absolutely. The Yugoslav defense is a much tighter defense.
Ronaldinho, near post, no one made the run.
I mean, this Yugoslav team is a professional team. We here in Miami, he used to have a coach named Ray Hudson, who's now at DC United, who used to say that he'd love to have a hairy-chested Bulgarian playing because of their ability to really get the ball and close down other attackers. Well, these aren't Bulgarians, but that's what they're doing here. They're really closing down the Brazilian attack.
Not turning down the volume in the stadium, though. Roberto Carlos sliding it through Janilson. Take a look at the bench, and you talked about Juninho Paulista, who's having a good season, perhaps not as good as he did last year when he teamed up with Mario Vasco. At Flamengo, trying to help keep them afloat. Cross from Agilson. Header, back post. And Luis Sal, can't blame him for that one, as didn't quite know where to expect it. Gilberto Silva got his head to it first, and instead of shooting, tried to pass.
I believe that was Hockey Jr. that had the ball. All right.
We'll see on the replay, but regardless, Luis Sal did not have the clear opportunity, but a good cross for Agilson. Give him credit.
Oh, Mario, there's the chance starting again.
Ilic trying to take advantage of Roque Jr. and does draw the corner. And again, that center back position, the biggest weakness for Brazil.
Another player I'd like to see come in this game. All right, let's see here. Tough to see from there. Another player that I'm sure the fans want to see in this game is the 20-year-old sensation Kaká from São Paulo.
And you wonder whether he might go with him more than Juninho.
So, Juninho has the experience. Kaká just has right now, everything else. He's just playing dynamite for São Paulo. São Paulo, right now in Brazil, is considered the best team in the nation.
Cross off the corner. Nothing going. Can't get it past the first man. You're not going to do much with it. Acrobatic effort to keep it in play, but all for naught as Brazil comes back the other way. Situational foul, and somewhat of a smart one. Gives Yugoslavia time to recover, and the referee does not penalize with a yellow, and Yugoslavia gets the ball back regardless.
Poor sloppy play there by Brazil.
65th, almost the 66th minute, nearing the 2/3 mark of this game. Still scoreless. Brazil has had their chances and will have a difficult look in the mirror tomorrow.
This Brazilian fan is starting to turn on the club right now.
Janilson in a foot race. Cuts to the inside. Dispossessed and a little frustration against Mirkovic. And let's see what happens if they, in fact, give the referee credit. He played on while Yugoslavia had it, but Epifanio Gonzalez comes back and gives the yellow card. Still down on the ground, Mirkovic and the frustration against Janilson.
Right now we have a very frustrated team, written in yellow. The fans are frustrated. They're yelling "Ole" when the Yugoslavs have the ball.
Janilson might have had a little bit of an argument for a foul, but no argument for the retaliation.
I'm not sure who that's coming in. It might be Junior from Parma, left-sided player as well.
Thinking they might be pulling Roberto Carlos. Yugoslavia with the throw in. And they'll move up about 15 yards and take it again. Roberto Carlos still out there. Throw in. Djordjevic drops it back. Milosevic has not had a lot of pretty touches in this matchup. Hasn't had many openings against Marcos, who has really only needed to touch the ball once today. Ball into the middle, and Brazil pushing forward, getting the ball to Roque Jr.
Looks like Brazil is strategically playing a different game right now. They've pushed Cafu and Roberto Carlos back. My guess is Filipão has decided to see how they play with the 4-4-2 as opposed to the 3-5-2.
Roberto Carlos up the middle, looking for Luizão, and not going to get it. Brazil coming back with the ball. Roque Jr. Ronaldinho comfortable going to the left or the right, but Cashman, poor pass. Roque Jr., long ball up front and a little too long. No problems for Jevic. And here come the Olays that you were talking about just moments ago. Brazil coming away with it. Ronaldinho. Edilson. Tripped up. And another foul against Dimitrovic.
This Ceará crowd is very frustrated right now, and with them another 170 million Brazilians. Today in Brazil, in fact I was in Brazil all of last week, there was a certain feeling of newness that with this new side, finally most of the controversies resolved in terms of who's going to start, who's going to play, that we could look forward to the World Cup and really expect a different result. Right now this result certainly isn't making anyone happy, and nobody is really giving anybody confidence in the work that Filipão is doing or any of these players.
Looks like Cleverson has entered the game.
Yeah, I believe that was Cleverson coming in from Atlético Paranaense.
And just prior to that, Djalminha. So it looks like Kaká and Juninho both might end this game on the bench, and Brazil still searching for its first goal. Roque Jr. coming in hard, give him credit. Breaks down that one rare foray by Yugoslavia. Cafu. Can he cut it back?
hear the crowd calling for Kaká as well now. There's a goal.
Snap header and a goal. Luisao, give Cafu the credit on that goal. Tried the first cross, was rejected. The second ball comes right back to the middle, and Luisao snaps it home.
That was a great goal, great individual effort there by Cafu to get the cross in. Luizão was left unmarked. We were talking about the Yugoslav defense being very stingy, but they didn't see Luizão behind him there, and he had all the space in the world to head that one in the goal.
The goal coming in the 72nd minute. The fortunate deflection off of the defense, but Luisão put it on the frame, and that was something that many other forwards in recent games have not been able to do. And when the resumes are piled up that high for those last 2 or 3 spots, and basically for the last attacking spot on this Brazil squad, that goal right there might be enough to punch his ticket to the World Cup.
Well, Filipão is very much a fan of Luizão, and right now I think Luizão really helped his cause there.
Ball to the middle. Duljac, as Yugoslavia seems to realize that they have to score a goal in this one. Dimitrovic dropping it back. Keshman.
Felipão likes Luizão because he's a very good positional player. He finds the seams very well. He finishes well.
Similar player to the 2 forwards that he was trying last game in France and Washington, but just a little bit more mobile, a little bit more versatile, but still strong in the air.
Absolutely. In fact, I would say Luizão of that whole group is the strongest in the air.
And he has been an irritant to Yugoslavia since he entered the game, and does get the first goal in. Free kick from about 30. And it goes about 30 yards on the wrong side of the goal. And it looks like that might be the parting shot from Mihailovic, literally and figuratively.
I think he's looking forward to spending his day on the beach tomorrow now.
A couple more subs getting set to check in for Yugoslavia. Boskovic. Looks like Djordjic. 75th minute. Savicevic calling to the bench. And Yugoslavia on their 3rd captain, Mijatovic, had handed it to Mihailovic, who passes it off. Looks like Krstajic is going to wear it. And there you can see it was Mihailovic who tried to step back into defense, but deflected the ball back to Luisao at the back post. So 13, Branko Boskovic getting his first cap, the young midfielder from Red Star. And Nenad Zoric from Montpellier stepping onto the field as well. And Mihailovic off, and Keshman, who has been the hard man in the center of the field for Yugoslavia, also taking a seat. Junior. Looks like they might try and either replace Roberto Carlos or give him a little bit more help on that left side. And Juninho also loosening up. Judging by that shot, I think Roberto Carlos thinks he's about to be substituted.
Yeah, there wasn't that much effort in that shot.
It was just give me one more crack at the apple, and Roberto Carlos is out. Junior, the Parma defender, stepping in, and very versatile player.
Yeah, this is a pairing that will definitely be in Japan and Korea. Roberto Carlos is a definite starter on this side, and Junior is a player that knows that he will be the sub for Roberto.
No, on the other side, Cafu wearing the captain's armband after the substitutions. Belletti has been the one backing him up of late, but has not really been spectacular, to say the least.
Well, Belletti had a great great season last year, and some people accused it of going to his head. He sat on the bench a few times against São Paulo. He's earned his starting position back at São Paulo. Without question, I think that side of the field also is pretty much a done deal.
Well, the last game against Iceland, Junior actually came in on the second half and switched over to the right side.
Right, right.
You wonder if Belleci has dropped down Scolari's dream list a little bit. Down the line, Janilson dropping it back. Junior, one of his first touches. Actually, Janilson here, Djalminha playing a little higher in the attack. Ronaldinho looks like he might get the full 90 minutes at this rate.
Now, my guess is if Juninho Paulista comes in, he comes in for Ronaldinho at this point.
Roque playing a little fancy there for a central defender without any help, but gets away with it. Junior, Djalminha, double teamed and drops it back. And it will be Juninho Paulista getting set to check in. Ronaldinho lifting it over the spot. Spotted 2 yellow jerseys and put it right between them. The problem was that's where a Yugoslav defender was. Janilson. Luisao, can he get a second?
With Juninho Paulista on the field, we'll have 3 juniors on the field for Brazil. We'll have Roque Jr., Juninho Paulista, and
Juninho.
Juninho.
Roque Jr. and Junior.
And Junior, yeah. Junior, of course, is a great soccer name, most famous for Junior, who played for Flamengo and was one of the great players in the 82 and 86 Brazil World Cup sides.
Need to be more theirs in the world. Ball to the middle. For a pass. Dimitrovic hustling back on defense, as is Lazetic, the substitute. Ball to the outside. Cleverson. One of his rare touches, but a brilliant dribble by Janilson, but no foul called. Looked like the defense might have gotten the ball first. Take a close look. And they did. You probably needed a microscope to see it, but the referee giving Yugoslavia perhaps the benefit of the doubt. 1-0 Brazil. Goal in the 72nd minute. Luisao snapping home the header, ending the perfect night for Jevric. Cleverson played more of an attacking role against Iceland. Nice touch. Cafu. Ronaldinho down the flank. And a shot from Janilson.
At this point, the Yugoslavs really making no attempt to play the ball. They're just clogging up the passing lanes and forcing Brazil to try to either dribble around them or pass through them, but very difficult for them to get through right now.
And Ronaldinho Gaúcho will be the player coming out. Juninho coming in.
Well, Ronaldinho looks pretty happy with his performance. I think he didn't hurt his chances to go to Japan. I don't know if he really made himself an indispensable member of this team yet. But with Brazil having 3 or 4 other matches, I'm pretty confident that the performance he had, he should at least have another shot at looking at the team. Remember that Rivaldo will be on this field, and most likely Rivaldo will be in that position in Japan and Korea.
Sasha Ilic checking out, replaced by his Partizan teammate Danko Lazovic, the forward, getting his first cap for Yugoslavia in Yugoslavia's last game. So 2 first-timers stepping onto the field. Boskovic coming on about 5 minutes ago out of Red Star. 6 substitutes allowed in this game. Either that or they bribed the 4th official.
I think Brazil might have used actually more than 6, no?
Junior, Cleverson, Juninho, Janilson, Luisao, and Djalminha, which means, unfortunately for the rest of us, Kaká still stuck on the bench. Have to wait until the game against the Catalonia side, perhaps, if they elect to bring any domestic players over to Europe.
I believe the next game is not actually against Catalonia, it's against Portugal. in a game that's going to be played in Lisboa on April 17th, if I'm not mistaken, which will be another day very similar today. A day filled with international friendlies of teams looking to prepare themselves for Japan and Korea.
Think Sonny Anderson gets a call back when Brazil heads over to Europe, or is he well out of the picture?
I would say Anderson is definitely out of the picture. If there's any doubt at this point, maybe Jardel gets us. He plays in Portugal, but like I said, I'm not going to make any attempts to get into Felipe's head right now.
1-0 the score. 72nd minute goal from Luisao. Playing an aggressive defensive role up front, forcing that ball out on the far side. Less than 10 minutes to go. Can Brazil net a second, or will Yugoslavia get the equalizer?
Well, at this point, even if Brazil were to put in 2 or 3, I don't think that would try and make anyone in Brazil, either the fans or the club themselves, very, very satisfied with this game. There's a lot of work to be done here.
Well, Luisao, give him credit, but he's not the guy that's going to carry Brazil to a World Cup championship. And while it was a good effort to get the cross in a second time, there was a fortunate bounce involved. So does the pressure get any easier coming off of a 6-1 victory against Iceland and a 1-0 victory against Yugoslavia?
I think there's more questions raised by today's match than there were answered.
And does Romario make sure he gets 3 goals this weekend?
Romario scores his goals all the time.
Juninho. Now, is this the role you think that Scolari is going to play Juninho in? Or was it just a situation of taking a look at other players at the moment, knowing what Juninho can do?
Juninho, like Ronaldinho Gaúcho, is a fairly versatile player. They're both attacking midfielders.
Nice move by Gilberto Silva.
They can both play in the forward spot if they have to. And they both play in the center. I think Juninho, if he plays in Japan, Korea, that's the position he plays.
Janilson. Juninho setting up camp about 25 yards out. Cleverson crosses, cleared back. Dimitrovic couldn't clear it far enough. Second try, he does get it to the midfield. A little too aggressive on the flick. Zodic gives it promptly back to Juninho. One thing that Luisao does that França and Washington did not do is if he does lose the ball, he fights to get it back.
Luisao has always been known as a scrappy player. I think we've seen one thing with the addition of Juninho. Juninho's more willing to take on the defense and just dribble through the heart of it than Ronaldinho Gaúcho seemed to be. Ronaldinho was making more short passes. Juninho was just trying to take it at the heart of the defense and see what happens.
Milosevic coming out. Some might question whether he was ever in this game. Vojvodina forward, Radovan Krivokapic coming into the game. Another youngster coming in for Savicevic, who's, again, just getting some early plans on paper for Euro 2004.
This is his first cap. I believe he plays for Partizan Belgrade.
Dimitrovic to the middle. And the quick turn. Zodic goes down, and the free kick for Yugoslavia.
That was Gilberto Silva on the tackle. There he is on the ball again. He's rumored to be going to Germany after the World Cup for a fairly high transfer fee.
Ball to the middle. Could have been a chance. Follow up. Still loose outside the 6. Good effort to try and catch up to it by Lazovic.
Hey, Brazil was very lucky to avoid the goal there.
Looked like it was Krivokapic coming in from that left side that caused the opening. 5 minutes left, plus a little bit of time to be added on. A goal and 12 subs might actually add a few minutes for Yugoslavia.
Technically, for each sub, the referee is supposed to add 30 seconds of the game, so we'll be looking at 6 minutes extra time just for subs. I don't think he's going to give that many minutes.
Well, 2 of the subs did start the game in the second half, so maybe we'll be down to 5 minutes. Scolari. Gentleman on his right also drawing a little bit of pressure, but it seems mainly to be focused in on the man who wears the technical director's cap, the coach's cap.
a lot of this is being placed on Filipão. Also in Brazil, Brazil is having a controversy with the president of the federation, Ricardo Teixeira, who has been deposed by the Brazilian Congress. He's been accused of corruption, and at this point, he's been very quiet. He knows that he has to keep his mouth shut, and he's letting Felipão run with the show. We saw a shot there of the Cearenses, the people from Fortaleza, leaving the stadium. They're not too happy with this result.
1-0 the score. It would go down in the books as a win. Making sure to leave a few parting shots from the stands, and those parting shots a little bit more accurate than what Brazil has done on the field tonight. Leverson.
I think in one way, Brazil's actually going to be happy to be playing in Portugal. The Portuguese fans might be more, it might make them feel a little more welcome at this point.
Perhaps a little less pressure to perform as well.
Well, I think Portugal having lost 4-1, and Brazil not showing anything of true brilliance here, to be kind, I think both of those clubs are going to be feeling a lot of pressure to perform that game. Portugal is a dark horse to be able to get to the final this year, especially with Luis Figo, one of the greatest players in the world at the moment.
Junior switching fields. Cafu, Juninho, Gilberto Silva, giving chase Krivokavic. Any of the questions in the defense answered today? Marcos not really tested, and really neither were Roque Jr. or Anderson Polga.
Yeah, like I said, the Marcos is basically given. Rogério adds something to the game because he's a little more athletic, and he has a tremendous free kick if they were ever to let him loose on the national side. And São Paulo, he scored a number of goals. Scored
one last week, if I recall.
I believe so. I believe he scored over 30 or 40 goals in his career, which for a goalkeeper is tremendous. So, and the whole idea of the 3-5-2 is basically a concession to the fact that the Brazilian central defenders aren't that strong. So they're going to add a central defender there.
Lucio dribbling himself into trouble, but pushes it up the line.
The fact is, Edmilson, Lucio, Roque Jr., Juan from Flamengo, who didn't see any time today, they're for the better or for worse, they have their passports to Japan already stamped.
I think if they could convince Aldair to shave 4 years off of his passport, they might be tempted to call him back, though. No one has really stepped up to that level from the new crop of defenders, and Anderson Polga appeared to be the shining light, but he was one of the first ones subbed today. Through ball, Janilson Junior on the overlap, ran into a buzzsaw and cannot get the ball away from Julic.
Yeah, Juan from Flamengo would be another shot there. He's a young shot. He's young, but again, unfortunately, it's the best of the worst. Looks like the referee is already looking at his watch. I'm not sure how many extra minutes they're going to be given for this match, but it doesn't look like they're going to give the 5 or 6 that probably should be awarded technically.
Either they ran out of balls, or there's one more substitute coming in for Yugoslavia. They've used 5. Brazil has used 6.
I think even the ball boys are on strike at this point for the team to play better, for their nation to win. When Brazil plays, it's tough to understand if you're not from Brazil. It really is. 170 million Brazilians just hang on every single kick of this club, everything that happens. Like I mentioned, I spent the whole week in Brazil last week when Felipão announced the side on Wednesday, the players that were going to be selected. That was the only thing that people talked about all day. And the Brazilian people were really looking at today as a rebirth. We're in, this is a Holy Week here, and Brazil being a Catholic country, maybe they were hoping that part of that would rub off, but it just hasn't. This is just really very much the same style of play that they've been exhibiting throughout qualifiers. They're getting through, but they're just not doing anything to impress anybody.
Talk about qualifying as the boos continue to rain down. Now 30 seconds into time added on. Brazil finishing 3rd in qualification behind Argentina and Ecuador, ahead of Paraguay and Uruguay, but that's actually giving them a little bit of false praise based upon the results in the last 2 rounds. There was a danger with 2 rounds left to go that Brazil might have to take on Australia to play in for a spot.
Well, there's the final whistle. He gave exactly 1 minute of extra time. Going to your subject, yeah, they were tied for 3rd, but the fact was that on the day of the last game against Venezuela, they were actually in 4th place, and only because Paraguay lost in Colombia, and they had nothing to play for that day, that they ended up in 3rd place.
And to show how far Brazilian soccer has fallen even just in the last 4 years, taking on Venezuela, there were some people wondering, considering the way Venezuela played their last 4 or 5 games, with some impressive victories and results, maybe there was one more in the books, and who would have thought that Venezuela would have any hope against Brazil going into the final round of qualifying. But regardless, Brazil did qualify. Regardless, Brazil does win today, but as you can see from some of the yawns in the crowd, they probably didn't win too many fans.
No, and like I mentioned, they played this game in Fortaleza. The northeast of Brazil is an area that has tremendous affection for the national team. They don't get to see the national team as much as the Cariocas in Rio and the Paulistas in São Paulo. So they usually, when the national team plays in this stadium, when they play in this region, they go out and they support them. So when this group of people, when they get down in the national team, you kind of get a feeling for the whole nation.
We take a look at the only goal of the match, Mihailovic deflecting the ball off Cafu's cross, and the only man who could reach it was Luisão. He did, and he might be the only person that really has a reason to smile after this one is over. Some of the fans still showing off, and you really have to consider Brazil, if they can get a few more pieces together in the puzzle, has got to be considered as having a very good shot, if not one of the favorites to make it to the final 4 teams.